ahead and start. But he's not here, but that's okay. Oh man, yeah. So Tyson, yeah, the not knowing what you're doing, right, on the new job. Yeah. What I would say is don't cave into the imposter syndrome, okay? Give yourself a little window to come up to speed and don't panic yet. And if they're doing the
What I
thing
would
right,
say is,
if they're doing it right, everybody gets it. What's the number mean? Oh, typo. Okay, there. Hey, no sweat, man. All right, there's a link for. Okay, everybody realizes, right, that even though there are officially 2 more days of school left, this is the end of the lecture gig. It's the end, man. Yeah, Seth, I've seen that one. Seeds. Just sucks being confused. Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. Just, you got to be gentle with yourself. You got to go easy on yourself. Really, truly, just go a little easy on yourself. Um, okay. It is like a fire hosey. Okay, guys. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Nice. Seeds jumped into a pool of cold, fresh, mint-flavored Jello. Yeah, it's hard to tread water in Jello. Yeah, yeah, excellent point. You got to wade through it. The more you wade through it, the more liquidy it becomes. Nice. I think you'd float in Jello for the most part if you held still. Which meme? Which meme, Landon? Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me go grab it real quick. Um, that's a good one, isn't it? Hold tight. Let me see if this will do the trick. All right, man. There you go, Landon. Calm down, Pythagoras. Yeah, yeah. This is because because science, but apparently not math all the time. It is a good one, right? You got to admit. Um, all right, let me see. Um, let's see. Where would we at? Where was we? Seth said to Seeds, we always say it takes 6 months for employees to break even for their time, knowledge, pay. I think that's fair. I like that from the company perspective, right, Seth? I like that. Kevin said, keep in mind too that this is dependent on the company and not just you. Yep. Seth said they're investing in you, so don't worry about it. They hired you and didn't hire a professional consultant. You are what they want. Nice. Right. Landon just noticed who's holding Pythagoras back. Yeah, exactly. It's Stephen Hawking and Neil. What's it? Neil deGrasse. I can never remember. Neil deGrasse Tyson. What's his name? Neil Tyson deGrasse. I probably have the name butchered. I apologize. I've never really seen him much. No, no, not Mike Tyson. Who's the guy? Neil
Neil
deGrasse.
deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, that's him and Stephen Hawking are holding Pythagoras back. So, not nice. Okay, okay. Let's kick in. Okay, for the few people that are going to retake the final or the retake the midterm or do the makeup final or whatever we're going to do, I'm still pulling that together. I have my note to do it. I will achieve it. And what else will happen? Oh, the other thing we need to do is set up what I'd like to be able to do is get grades done as soon as I possibly can. So what I'm hoping to maybe do is just have everything in this class due at like, I don't know, end of the last day of the semester is Wednesday. So um, so I got to pick a final ultimate day to have everything submitted. And then for the folks doing the makeup exam, I just would rather not twist in the wind for another, all the way out into finals to get your grades computed and done. You know what I mean? Um, uh, Kevin, do you have a UML cheat sheet, or should we just cop one off? Off? You mean off, right? Typo off the internet. Yeah, or there may be something in Fowler's book. I would look in Fowler's little UML distilled book. There may be some short summary and or just, yeah, grab one from somewhere. Gunner, I've seen that one before. Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, they never said what type of machine, but it probably was a printer. Trying to get the damn thing to print. Probably. It's my guess. Okay. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is when to have everything due, because it's not cool or fair to have everything due. Let me see. Calendar. Class ends on the 27th. Thursday is a final exam prep day, and then Friday starts finals. The university rule, hope you're all tracking with me on this. The university rule is that regular homework, um, has to be done by the last day of the regular semester. And as I've said before, I support that rule. Um, Otherwise, you get into a mode where everybody's letting you turn everything in late, and then all these assignments just spill into finals week when you've got courses that are a lot, in many respects, more difficult than this one, where everything is hinging on your final, but you're got suddenly swamped by homework. So, what I'm going to do is give a little bit of latitude for this, makeup exam slash final. For those that are going to take the final, there's maybe half a dozen of you that'll do that, and maybe give you till like Sunday, the 1st of May. I think that's what I'm going to probably do is go Sunday, the 1st of May. Okay. For having that final cooked and back to me. It's going to be take home. Um, all right. But all the remaining assignments would need to be done by midnight on Wednesday, the 27th. All right. Everybody cool? So let me make that summary. I'm going to make a quick summary in the chat. Thank you, Bharat. Summary. All remaining homework due Wednesday, April 27 at midnight. And then two, sorry, I'm just typing this so it's there in your notes. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to print this and check this out. I'm just going to reread it and make sure I didn't screw it up. Summary, all remaining homework due Wednesday, April 27 at midnight. And then for those taking the final AKA to make up midterm, deadline will be Sunday, May 1 at midnight. That allows me, like, in the middle of finals week to have your grades submitted, have it done, cooked, and everything else. Okay. Seth, that's so disturbing. Um, yeah, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can, Seth. Okay, everybody cool? Everybody gets that? Me and Barat. Okay. Um, yeah, Mike, you should just switch to Linux because Linux, there are no technical problems with Linux ever for anything. Is that right, Mike? Is that what you're saying, Mike? Okay. Alrighty. Okay, let's go back to the slidolas, shall we? We were talking about patterns of leadership. We did Phil Armour, and we were going to come back to Jim McCarthy. Um, we kind of did a thing before about, didn't we talk about, did I do a survey about management? Does that ring a bell? Seems like I did. But there's a good, um, let me do this. I'm going to drop a survey. You guys can keep talking about printer drivers. Survey. Okay, there's a survey. The survey says, I see myself at some point being either a manager or a technical lead. And I'm not putting any time limits on that. That could be 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future. And I'm trying to sort of assess the applicability here, right? Because sometimes we get into this mode where we see ourselves on the technical track and that's not about people. And by the way, and this is right now, the survey is 10-4 with 5 abstentions. Canute's already been a manager. I've been, both sides of the track. Um, oh, that's Seth. That's Seth looking at, or that's you looking at the fish, right, Seth? That's pretty dang good. Um, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Okay, I got one for you, Seth. So if I were Dave, I'd do this real quick. That's Seth on the right. Everybody's taking their fish to look at it. There's Seth over on the right, basically. That's doubling down on the one you just posted. There's one in every class. Yeah. Anyway. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's taste. They never said you couldn't taste it. Although in the story, the taste would have been formaldehyde, which would have been disgusting. No, that was a good one, Seth. That was a really good one. He's like scouting that fish, and then bam. That's so good. Okay. Let me see. All right. So let's go back to the survey. Survey says 13 say yes, 4 say no. Interesting. Okay, I want to say one thing to the 4 who say no. First of all, the probability that you will be at some point in some position of technical leadership is actually over as a function of time. It's fairly high. Now, and you may be just like super introverted and just like, maybe that gives you anxiety or you don't see it. But the reality is over time, there's a very high probability. Having said that, I want you to just understand something else that's kind of important to get your head around, um, which is that whether you have, I'll probably talk a little bit about it here in these slides, whether you have an official position or not, you have influence. Everybody on a team has influence. And if you've ever been on a team, most of you have worked, right? Let me do another survey. Um, this can be internship. The survey question is, I have worked in the industry already, yes or no? And by the way, this from a job perspective, at the end of the day, this is really, really important. Even if the pay isn't great, building that experience is really, really valuable. Okay, so if you haven't, just take that as, to-do item from Dr. K. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know which pattern that is, Gunnar. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think any internship counts, Seth. Yeah, I think that we could have a conversation about Liskov's substitution principle in light of the dogfish. Um, Seeds, was that a setup? You need to make an answer. What kind of fish is made solely out of sodium? Tuna. Tuna. Yeah, see, I knew you were waiting. I knew it was a setup. You were just like loaded dad joke loading. Minus 5 from Hufflepuff. Seeds, -5. Yeah, better shut up. All right. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. We got to get to the end of this, and then we're done for the semester, minus getting stuff finished up. Um, the point I'm getting at is that some of you are like, I'm never going to be a tech lead, but you're going to be in a team. So um, for those that have been in industry spots, think about people. Maybe just drop some comments on this. Think about people who, whether they might have been the manager or they might not, they might have been the tech lead or they might not have been, but maybe they're just a-holes. And what's the influence on the team when someone's an a-hole? Let's just say now that it's not a member, it's not a official leader, team leader, manager, but still an a-hole. What's the influence on the team? What's the influence on everybody else? What's the influence on the overall productivity? Now, you're not the manager, but you just this negative influence. What are your thoughts? Where you've seen that happen? Um, yeah, the team doesn't want to do jack squat. What else? Seth said HR gets involved if it's a manager. Well, it depends on. I mean, there are managers who are kind of a-holes, but it's sort of below the surface. It's like not really actionable. It's just a weird attitude. You know what I mean? So what I want you to think about, I'm lotioning up here again. I forgot to put lotion on last night, and we live in a frickin' desert, if you haven't recalled this. So if I don't throw some lotion on, everything goes chappy. What else? Kevin said cynicism abounds, like when mom and dad, when mom or dad is mad at home, everyone gets mad or scared. Okay, that sounds like maybe not a great home environment there, Kevin. I don't know, but I'm with you. I'm down with that idea. You know, but the point just being, let's just say that it's a junior engineer who just makes all the snarky comments. Okay, so what I want you to think about in all of these situations that we're talking about is the fact that you might have an official labeled title, like you are the manager, you are the tech lead, or you might not, but everybody has an influence in the team. And in every one of the things we're going to talk about, leadership isn't a designated position. Leadership is not an official job title. Leadership is a behavior at a personal level. Okay? Leadership is a behavior. All right. Um, yeah. So, Seth, it's always actionable. No, it's not. In bad companies, bad managers continue to manage badly until everything just goes to hell. So it isn't, depends on the company, depends on a lot of factors. Okay, Gunner. Yeah. Well, okay, I see what you're saying, Seth. It's always actionable on your part. I was talking about actionable from the company's part. And by the way, Gunnar, that is an absolute classic GIF. Very, very classic. Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah, walking into and leaving a bad company. Okay. So let's talk about this first slide here. Jim McCarthy. I mentioned already the McCarthy book. Let me just hit it again. I highly recommend it, but just to understand the fact that it's very philosophical. Okay, here we go. Now, when we talk about leaders, when McCarthy talks about leaders, we are not strictly talking about official positions. Okay, hang on a second. Um, we're not talking official managers or tech leads. We are talking about leadership. Okay, so in my opinion, a leader's empathetic perception of the psychological state of his or her team is the beginning of what we call vision. Okay? Now, I want to just point this out. This idea of an empathetic perception. What that means is that we're always operating under perceptions. But when you're having an empathetic perception, it means that your perception comes from an ability to look at other people and understand the impact on other people of your own actions or of the actions of others or of certain dynamics. The ability to see from their perspective, which is kind of the core of empathy. Okay? If the leader can then resonate with the team's complex emotional state, identify with it, articulate it, give the whole constellation of feeling and thought a visible, concrete reality in his or her own personal voice or gesture. The boundaries among the individual team members and between the team members and the leader will collapse. A wave of unity will wash over the entire community. I have seen this happen over and over and over and over again in my career. It is um, it is absolutely true. And when you see walls, when you see barriers between, say, management and the engineers, when you see this kind of wall in between and the non-unity, you know that this is not there. This is like it's like what's the word? I don't know what the word is. It's a sort of an if and only if relationship. Okay. In other words, when you see this empathetic perception of the psychological state of the team, which is the complex state of the individuals and then their collective interaction, when you can perceive the dynamics of the team and then resonate with it, then the boundaries sort of collapse. When you see no boundaries, you will see this behavior, my experience, gospel according to Chuck. And when you don't see that outcome, when you see barriers up and boundaries, you know, between everybody, you will see this not there. You will see a lack of empathy. Now, there are situations where I guess there's the edge cases where it accidentally shows up, but also the notion of the between, not just between among the individual team members, but between the team members and the leader. And usually when I see bad relationships, goofy relationships with leadership management in companies, and tell me what you think about this. Um, I usually view it as a lack of empathy on the part of on the part of the leader, so-called the manager, who may or may not be a leader, right? But they are the manager, director, vice president, whatever they are. When they are just so lost in their own little world that they can't understand what the people are doing, you know, then you got a problem. One of my core things when I'm dealing as a manager of engineers is to reinforce the idea that I don't, as a manager, I don't do any actual work. All I'm doing is running around trying to, you know, keep the pizza coming and keep the drinks flowing, keep everybody loose, keep the roadblocks out of the way, just knocking stuff out of the way, cutting up tree branches so they can keep driving because they're the ones doing the actual work. I've got to try to facilitate that. If I think that somehow as a manager that the whole team is about me, then we're screwed. Okay? We're really, really screwed. So I didn't say it isn't work, Seeds. I said it's not, how should I say this? It's not the engineering work. It's not code writing, right? So it's a little bit like this. It's a little bit like this. If I'm a manager of salespeople, I don't close any sales, right? So I don't do any of the actual sales. That's what I mean. I don't do as an engineering manager. I don't do engineering work. And the question is, so Seth said, truly and appropriately, management is work. Yes, agreed. That's kind of self-evident, even though I said something that seems to contradict it, right? Um, it's the realization that my work is about making sure that their work happens. For example, if I'm a basketball, it's NBA playoffs, right? I'm going to get to your list, Walter. I like it already. Um, in the NBA playoffs right now, if I'm a coach in the NBA, I don't score any baskets. I don't pull down any rebounds. I get no assists. My only job as a coach, which is work, but my only job is to facilitate my team to score the points, get the rebounds, at the end of the day to score the points more than the other team, which is how we win. Great coaches induce their teams and inspire their teams to do that. Bad coaches don't. They get actually worse than if there was no coach. Okay. And if there's no coach, someone's going to step up into the leadership position no matter what. Okay. But do you understand that's what I'm trying to say? When I'm talking to my folks, when I'm an engineering manager, I try to help them understand all the engineering work, which is the core reason for our organization to exist, happens because of you. My job is to just try to make that happen, facilitate what you do. Okay, Walter, Marine Corps leadership qualities include: one, inspiration, personal example of high moral standards reflecting virtue, honor, patriotism, and subordination in personal behavior and in performance. Two, technical proficiency, knowledge of the military sciences and skill in their application. Three, moral responsibility, personal adherence to high standards of conduct, and the guidance of subordinates toward wholesomeness of mind and body. I like it. I like it a lot. Um, Seth, problem solving, whether it's people or product issues. Gunnar, should you be less or more involved than a conductor in an orchestra? Would that be micromanaging? Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Well, the conductor, what's interesting, man, I used to really wonder what a conductor in an orchestra even did, like just human metronome, doesn't everybody already know their parts, kind of thing. But I realized that really it is a central focus to create the ability for that orchestra or that choir or whatever to sort of blend as one around this emotional figure that everybody can kind of connect in with. It's also all the practice so that you kind of figure out where are the weaknesses. What do we need to hit again? We need to review. I remember I spent a lot of years in different choirs, a cappella stuff, small a cappella groups of my own creation and different things, bands and what have you. But I remember one time in a choir practice, one of the maybe the best choir I was ever actually in, kind of almost like semi-professional, and our choir leader at some point she sort of just like she's like, okay, da 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 da, and then while we're singing she's like, someone's poking out, and she just pointed her finger, someone is poking out over here, right? Because the idea with choir, if you've ever done any choir stuff, the goal is to blend in with the person next to you because you can't hear the global thing. That's what the director can see, is that global thing. But so I think that's a great analogy, Gunnar, as a conductor in an orchestra. I think it's really, really a great analogy. Seth, management styles vary based on what the employee needs. Sure, sure. But I think there are some consistently true principles, like this one. That's the slide from McCarthy. If a manager is great at a specific style, they can excel in a position that needs that specific style, would suck at others. I think that if you understand the core principles of management, for the most part, Seth, I think you don't suck. But honestly, back to Walter's example of the Marine, leadership, I think that there's a certain kind of style, obviously, to lead. What's the line leader, Walter? A sergeant? In I don't know what the ranks are in the Marine. I had two sons in the Army, so I don't know I don't know what the ranks are in the Marines, but um, yeah, right. So Seth is right. Yeah, drill sergeant, not a good style for kindergartners. I think did you spell kindergarten wrong? I feel like kindergarten wants to be with a T. Seeds. I personally believe that conductors don't add as much value to an orchestra that people may think. I bet if you took a professional orchestra and listen to them play a piece once with a conductor and once without, you wouldn't tell much difference. Okay, I'm going to agree with you, Seeds, only at the end when it's performance time. But if you had 10 sessions with a conductor and 10 sessions without a conductor and you were practicing, it would be dramatic. So having been, in bands and choirs and, various musical things, I think that I never, until I did a lot of choir stuff, I never really understood how absolute, especially for choirs. No, I think it's true orchestras because even in the dynamic moment, when a leader is like bringing you all in because you can all watch this one thing, if you don't have somebody going, bringing this thing in, or like here come the tenors, boom. If you don't have that, then everyone's trying to base it on timing. And the more slow and pensive the piece is, the more difficult it is to find that blend. And then you wind up being not as tight. And that's why when you're doing bands, you will see, you don't know it if you don't know what to look for if you're not in a band or haven't been in a band. But if you have been in a band, you'll see folks live playing and they're looking at each other and they're watching each other for certain cues. So let's see. Let me keep going. I have not seen Major Pain. Wes, thank you, Wes. Thanks, Wes, for that Wikipedia page on conductorless orchestra. I mean, every band, every rock band is basically a conductorless, thing. All right, Walter, platoon sergeant or squad leader. Thank you. Um, Seth has learned how to write the word kindergarten. About time. Yeah, see, I would absolutely include practice time, right? And Craig, I'm going to disagree. I think that in the actual performance, he's not mostly there for show because, again, if you've been in a choir, and again, that's all of. I've never been in an orchestra, been in bands, been in choirs, but a lot of choirs. You are glued on that conductor for coming in, cutting off everybody together because multiple things are trying to, blend in. And what looks like he's just up there, like a metronome for show, not true. Everybody's eyes are glued, man, on that, especially at key junctures, which created to come in. Okay. All right, let me keep cranking. Um, okay, let me hit the next one. Control. This one's really, really important. And again, I think this one's going to be different. And Walter, I'd love your view. Um, Craig said in a band through middle school, high school, it's more important, or in band, more important that the musicians listen to each other than be glued to the conductor. I agree with that, but I do think it's a false dichotomy. I think they both are important in certain kinds of music. Like I can't imagine a large choir without a conductor. It would suck, no matter how good you were, or you would be limited to certain kinds of music. And size is an issue. The smaller the size, you can be an a cappella group like my all-time favorite a cappella group, Rockapella, and have, five, six guys on stage. They're bopping around, moving around, and the music's tight, but it's on a certain, you know, beat. Everybody knows what's going on. Um, okay. All right. This one, control. So I'm curious, Walter, if you have any views, because I view the military, which I've never been in the military. Um, uh, Before the program manager can be worth anything to the team, he or she must be, not using the term program manager very broadly, very loosely. He or she must be thoroughly disabused of the notion that he or she has any direct control. This is back to that empathy. You understand that you hire really smart people with good education um, to be creative. And if you try to roll in and micromanage their creativity, you're screwed. Okay. You cannot micromanage creativity. You can't like crack the whip and get more productivity. And then McCarthy goes on to say, fortunately, in the healthy team, no one needs to take any special steps to see that this happens. The program manager's teammates will quickly disabuse him or her of any delusions of control he or she may be harboring. Right. No, this is right. In an unhealthy environment, no one dares say anything. In a healthy environment, and it's kind of a paradox, in the unhealthy environment, there's no real control, but nobody can say anything. In a healthy environment, you would very quickly let them know that they have no control, but the environment would have to be healthy enough to allow it, which would be an environment where there wasn't an unhealthy control, right? Um, all right, Gunner, what is that? What was that movie? Whiplash? I never saw it. I think I read a review by an actual drummer that had gone to Berklee School of Music, and then I lost my. I don't know, Landon. I seriously, I watched a review, and then I lost my desire. You know what I mean? There were just so many things. I one of the things I hate is movies where there's, I don't know, just massive plot holes. You know what I mean? Like that's never going to be a real thing, where Hollywood just does it. But anyway, this is really interesting. So when you're a manager or a leader, you're trying to induce somebody else. You can never control them. Their job is fundamentally creative, and you cannot compel them or control them into that creativity. You can inspire them, you can encourage them, you can motivate them. Okay. Let me see. Seeds, we should make a TV show where random people are selected to come direct a symphony for a professional orchestra. Nice. See how bad it is. Honestly, I just want to say one last thing that I didn't understand until I was in really, really large and or good, like really top-notch choirs back when I could sing. That I understood the absolutely deadly critical nature of a conductor in those settings. That's all I want to say. That's the last thing I'll say about that. Um, Authority. This is the one that I was kind of already talking about. There is authority where you can give somebody the authority, so called, um, and then there is um, so Walter, I want to hear more what you have to say about it's about trust and confidence. What is the it in your sentence, Walter? Um, and by the way, Walter, I really love the Marine influence, in terms of experiences that you've had. Um, yeah, we get trained conductors to conduct the orchestra. Nice. Okay, so understand that there is, titled authority, and then there is kind of leadership, um, power, influence, right? So McCarthy says the goal, as far as authority is concerned, is to make every team member an authority himself or herself. You want the team to have authority, both individually and collectively. That's where the manager's ultimate authority comes from. Okay, so case in point, tell me if you've ever had this experience. Um, you're in a restaurant and something bad happens. Okay, survey. I am typing my little heart out. Okay, survey says, I have had a bad experience in a restaurant. Okay. Now, this is my point. Every bad experience in a restaurant is an opportunity to take lemons and make lemonade. In fact, I would go so far as to say that in a bad experience, because every restaurant delivers bad experiences from time to time, right? What is that one? Oh, Seth Cockroach. Nice. Um, every restaurant has delivered bad experience because every restaurant has people, and some people have bad days, and some people are just new and they don't know what they're doing or whatever, right? Whatever the case may be. Um, um, all right. 11 said yes on a bad experience, and then we've got a bunch of other things: fly, cockroach, mouse, and smiling poop. And if those are all the same person, yeah, it's all Seth. So Seth is like a walking restaurant bad experience. Here's what I want you to ask yourself: how did they deal with it? Um, I'm going to ask another survey question. No, I need it both ways. Hang on. This one you can answer yes to both of them. Okay, so 2 surveys. The first survey says, when I had a bad experience, they handle it really well. Has that ever happened? That's just really a kind of a yes, if that's ever happened to you. When I had a bad experience, they handle it really poorly. And you can answer yes to both, right? And I'm really kind of interested in the yeses, And now the question is, for those answered yes to either question, what happened? What did they do? Bad experience. How did they handle it? Server forgot to put in your order. Okay, Seeds, how did they handle it? What did they do? After they realized that they didn't put your order in, what happened? Yeah, Gunner doesn't count. If they didn't know, they don't have an opportunity to handle it. Okay, so Seeds, they comped the hot chocolate. Oh, but we had to go. We couldn't wait for her to put it in because they forgot your whole freaking order. Derek, if something's forgotten, usually they're very apologetic and get to fix it pretty quick. Right. That is the common case. I agree, Derek. That is the common case. But I guess one of the questions becomes, when you've seen it handled, there's broadly speaking 2 ways of doing it. One way, okay, have you ever had this happen where the server goes, you're like, yeah, I ordered French fries, but these French fries are like really nasty and cold, right? 2 basic reactions on the part of the server. One reaction is the server says, usually they're going to say, so I've actually had them just go, oh, I'm sorry, and then just like not offer to do anything. But I've also seen this one. One is where you go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to go get you some more fries? Okay. Now this is not a very empowered perspective on the part of the server. More empowered is the server just goes, oh my gosh. I even had one time I did that where I was like, these fries are really cold. And I think there was one time I'm like, you can try it if you want. And the server like grabs a fry and takes one and just goes, oh my gosh, that's nasty. And then it's just like rolling with me. I felt so understood, so heard and believed. And then she's like, I'm just gonna go get you some more fries. Just hold on. I'll be right back with some hot fries. Now, if they then come back 15 minutes later with your hot fries, they've blown the moment. But if they come back like 60 seconds later before I can even, kind of get into eating the rest of my meal, because fries are one of those things where if you don't catch the front edge of the fries, coming out of the cooker, if you're 10 minutes after the fries have been made, you're eating nasty fries. They got to be hot. Um, but so my point is, I've seen it done really well where the server himself, herself jumps on it. Oh my gosh, yeah, let me just take care of that. Or they'll say, I've had this happen. They'll say, I can do one of 2 things. First of all, this meal is just on us. If it's like the major entree, the meal's on us. Now, I can go get you something quicker, or I can just go do a whole new meal, get you that steak or whatever, and go get one and get it, make sure it's cooked right. But they make you feel understood and empowered, not ashamed. The worst case is when they ask you the question, do you want me to do something about it? Do you want me to give you another one? Because you never want to say, yeah, go get me another steak. Um, or if they're like, oh, let me go ask my manager. The manager should empower the individuals to make things right in the moment, right when the moment hits. Not everyone's going to be great at that, but when it happens, it's powerful. Then you take this bad experience and you pop out the other side, and in fact, you're more loyal than you were when you started. So, um, yeah, I'm just looking here at the examples. Walter, you waited an hour and a half after drinks and appetizers without getting your entrees? They apologized and comped everything. That's brutal. One time, we were at a restaurant in Portland, Oregon, and I'll get off this slide, but we were at a restaurant, and we went in the restaurant. There was like outdoor dining on the Columbia River, or was it the Willamette? It was the Willamette River. They kind of converge, I think, there in Portland, but um, anyway, but it was like outdoor dining, it overlooked the river and it was beautiful and everything. And someone comes and gets us water, and then we sit and then we wait. And then at some point, we're noticing that there's like no food coming out to anybody. There's no active servers. And finally, I go into the restaurant inside just to see if there's anybody. I can see nobody in the restaurant doing anything. We're just sitting out there having our glass of water. Finally, we just get up and leave. And then we just go walking down the walkway. And then about like 100 yards down the walkway, we see like the maitre d' from the restaurant that we just walked out on, walking toward us, like just having a nice little stroll, smoking a cigarette or something. And we're just like, what is going on? What craziness. Um, yeah, the reservation, the famous reservation. Okay, let me keep going. Honesty. I think this is critical. By the way, there are 4 slides left. Honesty. Most people, most engineers have a fairly fine-tuned bullcrap meter. You know what I mean by that? You know when people are just blowing smoke. So this is the quote from McCarthy. Wes, the Wendy's near your house has never gotten your order right in 30 years. Like, how is that possible statistically, right? I mean, you would have to try. You would expect randomly they would get it right. Seth, you had a cigarette flavored meal from Wendy's? Oh my gosh. I don't want to talk to you anymore, Seth. Um, the goal on a software development project is not to have the correct plan in advance. Why? Let me just ask you that real quick. The goal on a software project is not to have the correct plan in advance. And he doesn't really talk about it, but I want to ask you why. Craig, they're run by teenagers who don't care and are high. Okay, talk to me. Why is the goal not to have the correct plan in advance? Okay, stop with the Wendy's. Okay, you guys, seriously, enough of Wendy's. Why? Answer my question. I command you. I demand an answer. Yeah, Seth, what was the question? Excellent question. Why is the goal not to have, why wouldn't it be a good idea to have a correct plan in advance? So why is that not the goal? And yes, I am asking you to read my mind. You have to improvise, Craig. Yeah, but no plan. Yeah, Landon +5 for Hufflepuff. Landon, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Right? No plan makes it because you can't actually know. You're trying to do the best you can, but there's just an understanding that it's not going to be, a thing. Seth, do you understand now what I'm saying? Yeah, Kevin. Oh, wait, what did you say, Kevin? Hang on, you were lost in the sea of Wendy's. Oh, you'd spend 30 years trying to get the correct plan in advance. Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's not possible because it involves 2 things, people and the future. You can't know in advance. Therefore, since you can't know in advance, the goal is to make the right decisions every day as things that were unknown become known. Okay? Things that are unknown become known. It's the orders of ignorance again, is what it is. That's what you're trying to do. Yeah, you can't, thank you, Gunnar. A complete plan, can't just be copy and pasted from Stack Overflow. Right. If you've been pretending that you know something you don't, remember our discussion about learning, about, you know, knowledge and learning and, knowledge acquisitions happens on the frontier of ignorance, right? If you've been pretending that you know something you don't, you won't be able to take advantage of the true information when it becomes known. That is the speech I gave you, right? About acting like you know something you don't. You'll also be left in the uncomfortable position of having been proven wrong by emergent information. Yeah. Yeah, catch up, man. We'll see you, Kevin. We'll see you next week, and yeah, watch the rest of it. We've only got another 20 minutes till we're out, but okay. So this is my point. Be honest. One time I was in a situation. It's been a long time ago, so hopefully the parties involved are dead. But I was manager of a test group, and we were doing testing in QA for a development project, and the project was late. It was late over and over and over again. It was late, then it was rescheduled, then it was late from that one, rescheduled again. Finally, about 3 deadlines into the mix, we got it right, and it was actually correct. It was shipped out. We finally got it done on like the third slipped deadline. The dev manager, we had a little post mortem, what we might in Scrum might call a retro. We typically used to call these post mortem meetings, but we're having this post mortem retro meeting. Um, and the first thing that the development manager, I was the test manager. We were equal peers. But the first thing he does is he says, "Well, I want to thank everybody, for all the great effort. We shipped on time, you know." And I was incredulous. This whole idea of honesty. I was incredulous, and I said, I waited while he did his little speech, and I raised my hand and I said, "I just want to say, who's that? Who's dropping this on us? Seth?" So I'm watching Seth's GIF now. Yeah, that's pretty good, Seth. Plus 10 for Gryffindor. Um, anyway, I swear this actually happened, and I'm not making this up, but went on and on talking about how we shipped on time. And then I was just like, yeah, I just want to point out, I think we did good work and I appreciate everybody's work. I don't think it's strictly, um, I don't think it's strictly correct to say we shipped on time. We slipped 3 times and we shipped the last time. So if you just keep moving the bar and then just putting the bar wherever you happen to ultimately fall down and call that the finish line, you're always on time. But my problem was we can't learn anything, you know? And I still remember this guy. He was like indignant. He's like, "Okay, well, if it's important to Chuck that we attach labels to things, then let's just call this a blue cow." So we had a blue cow. So congratulations, everybody. Blue cow, you know? And I was incredulous. And I sat there and I was just like, look, I like to just say for the record that words have meanings. Where, and if blue cow means you slipped 3 times and finally got it, then we definitely had a blue cow. I'm not trying to blame anybody, but we can't learn if we don't know what actually happened. That's the bottom line. So, all right, Gunnar, isn't that the scene from what was it? What was it? The Wilder People? What was the one, Gunnar? There's a blue cow. Thank you, Seth. Now, what was the movie, Gunnar? The Search for Wilder People? Hunt for the Wilder People. Yeah, Taika Waititi as the preacher at the funeral. That was. I recommend that movie. You know, what would we find on the other side? Kid goes, Jesus. You would think Jesus, but no. It's hilarious. It's very funny. If you got any links to those clips, that'd be great, Gunnar. Anyway, does that make sense? Just say what, and in an honest environment where there's no shaming and there's no, you just need to know what happened so you can figure out what to do. Okay, next one, integrity. And this relates to it again. Yeah, another door. He's tricky like that, Jesus. It's so good. It's so good. That is my favorite scene, both for my wife and I. That is my favorite scene. Okay, patterns of leadership integrity. Here we go. And you'll see the pattern here is the same. McCarthy again. Integrity is about truth. The only thing harder than telling the truth is knowing the truth. That's why you've got to be comfortable living in the space of ignorance. When all around me are confirming one another's fantasies and magically converting wishes to reality and calling it a blue cow, right? When I have only the vaguest sensation that something is not quite right, when conventional wisdom and groupthink are strangling a new emergent reality being born in me, can I know and tell my truth? This is huge. I know it's very philosophical, but I want you to just, take a look at that. And it's, it's pretty powerful stuff, right? That when all around me are confirming one another's fantasies. And one of the hardest things to do, I got a thing right now, I won't go into, but at this other company, right, that I started that I told you about, where something bad happened. Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but one of my questions is going to be explicitly, how did it happen? Nobody should be shamed for it, but you got to know how that doesn't happen again. And the only way to figure out how that doesn't happen again is to figure out how it happened this time. Otherwise, if you're just like so nervous, I can't say anything bad. We got to pretend everything was a blue cow. It's just problematic. Okay, let me keep going. Emotion. And I think this one is next to the last one. Emotion. In addition for calling for an understanding of the dynamics of the technology, leadership in software development requires a high degree of sensitivity to the human nature of the enterprise and awareness of the underlying drives and emotions that determine the team's behavior. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Amen. Yes. A high degree of sensitivity to the human nature of the enterprise. That's not something we are, as CS types, always great at, but it is important that we be great at them. An awareness of the underlying drives and emotions that determine the team's behavior. That's, again, back to empathy. And then finally, this one on burnout. Most companies in this generation, so hang on, Seth, what do you mean by would that be applicable to you as a professor and us as students? What does that mean exactly? And then I'm going to keep talking about this one. Your generation of employers has figured out the burnout thing. There was a generation actually driven probably primarily by Microsoft of a kind of a run hard, burn hot, burn people out. I remember I still have somewhere this article, and it was just about all of the carnage that happened with some Windows release. How many divorces? How many people quit the company? The burnout. It happens sometimes, but mostly in this generation, people understand the sort of 40-hour work week as a way of maintaining life balance. It's much more a thing than it was when I was your age, back in my day, you know. So here we go. The basic issue in developer burnout is that the individual's passion, essential to producing great software has been consumed or has become misdirected or is otherwise unavailable. Whatever reason that is. That's also one of the reasons why I always took summers off from school, because you get too burned out and you can't learn when you're burned out. You go to hit that other gear and it's not there. The role of passion in software development can't be overstated. When the passion burns out, the compulsive interest in pouring oneself into an invisible yet coherent and dynamic stream of bits goes with it. Burnout and passion are mutually exclusive ideas, right? The professor in the manager's role, absolutely, Seth. And that's why, if you'll notice, what I try to do is create an environment that's motivating to learn in. And I'm not, compelling you to learn, but trying to make it interesting and do these various things. I'll try to be honest with my own mistakes. You know what I mean? These principles I'm talking about, I try earnestly. I don't have any, presumption that I'm going to be perfect at that, but I strive for perfection in that. So, okay. But be wary of burnout. That's the book. Oh, and then I'm not going to do that part. So, but I will say we've got a few minutes. I'm okay ending early. Honestly, I think that we end early not enough. And we've occasionally gone over, but um, are we good? Should we just call it? Because I'm good to call it and we can reconvene at Nico's. I think that's what we should do. All right. I'm gonna give the chat to Seth today. I think Seth was winning definitely on the gifts. Asked some great questions. Um, the powerful GIF about test and production probably was the winner. So, all right, my friends, let's cut it loose. Late.